Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shenanigans. How are you doing today, James?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you, Neal?
I am fantastic. So, I believe you have a new character for us, so why don't we introduce our new character, and then
Mm-hmm.
we will hop into game. So, who are
Uh,
you playing?
I am playing Adrian, the 29-year-old cleric of Dwarf Guam, a cleric
Hmm,
of knowledge and wisdom. He is a
yes.
bit of an archaeologist who goes around trying to study ruins and the way things were.
Hmm, way things were. Excellent.
Mm.
Well, let's hop into game. Here you are in Shenanigans. Shenanigans is... Where's my D12?
I'm on the Shenanigans map.
Is empty. Is empty. It's just you and Borsch and Desmond and Lizzie, and not even Layla's here. She's off doing homework or something somewhere.
All right.
And let's kick in the lack of music. Where is an empty tavern? Where's Mountain Tavern? Here we go. There's a small fire burning in the hearth. Desmond and Lizzie are sitting on opposite sides of the table of the bar, sort of gazing at each other and chatting idly about this and that. Borsch is not even in the kitchen. He's come out towards the bar and he's just leaning on the edge. And the three of them are talking about, sometimes it's just a slow day, and that's nice. Don't have to deal with any customers, don't have to yell at Glib Glob to clean something up. It's just nice, slow day. What about you, buddy? What's your story? What are you here for?
I am here to study the ruins of the area. Can you tell me what good ruins are near the area to study?
Depends on what you're looking for. All sorts of good ruins
History.
around here.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm looking for maybe before breaking of Arcadia ruins, or after, or just after.
Before the breaking ruins, that's
I know,
some
it's
ancient
specialized.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1500 years. But
What's
if
your
there is
interest
not,
in pre-breaking things?
well, I wish to see how things were done back then. Like, it was such a long time ago, it's like a different world even. I mean, our culture was very different back then, I imagine.
Desmond nods and sort of shrugs. Probably. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
You've
they
been
say
on
that old
benches.
that old church out there is one of the first landmarks in this town. The old church south of town. That's been here for a long time, since long before Berkshire was settled, I think.
What year was Berkshire settled? Do you
It
know?
was settled. He looks at Lizzie with pleading eyes. Lizzie looks at him with a blank stare, and after a moment of silence goes, I have no idea. And Desmond's like, right. Well, of course it was, Borsch, you remember the story of the breaking of the world, right? And Borsch is like, yes. There was one big tusk, and then it broke. It was terrible. And Desmond's like, all right. Look, I don't remember. I didn't go to school, okay?
It's okay. I'll just ask if you knew. I am going to do some research. Just seeing where can I start. So the ruins south of town are rather old? Predate the town.
Well, I think maybe the town predates the breaking. I know that they had to move some other towns afterwards, or at least move some roads. Built a whole bunch of new shit. Dracus was really small back then, It was real small.
Yeah, Vodan's still in power, then they decline.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alright.
Maybe you can find some clothes at the old church.
Alright. Sounds grand. Thank you, bartender.
Of course.
And give him a silver.
Yeah. He'll flick it around on the table, playing with it, while you head off to the church south of town, I take it.
Yes, I'll head to the church south of town, see if there's some clues to its age and origins.
You step on out of the bar, head around to the south of town, and start moving through the woods looking for this old abandoned church. Luckily, it's a place that is frequently visited, and you can find a trail that will lead you that direction. As you approach the church, you hear the sounds of a campfire, and you can see the flickering of light coming from the other side of the abandoned church walls, which have been partially rebuilt and partially redestroyed again. You can see that there's some lumber that is laying around there that's been knocked over, but it was like set up as if someone was going to rebuild it.
So the reconstruction's modern. Is there any visual bricks from older eras?
Yeah, you get up right close to it, and you can see the difference in craftsmanship with many different layers here. It looks like the ground tiles, the bits that are still covered with earth and need to be unswept, are the oldest. And some of the actual wall and some of the corner pieces will still be of that age. But then there's these other bricks that have been placed on and these other stones that have been collected and areas where wood has been added here and there. And then clearly signs of things collapsing in fairly recent history. And there's drag marks of things being pulled away recently. Looks like this church has been built and destroyed countless times. Like the old city of Troy.
Of course. And so the lowest layer, would I have that as the construction methods of Old Dracus? Or older than that?
That's a great question. How would you determine if it was the age of Dracus? Age of Berkshire?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I can't use my modern techniques here, but the way a brick's made, like the heat of the kiln will produce a different brick. So you can see a relative technology level. The stone if it's still local, obviously, but the way it's cut is differently. So this is just me simplifying because I've got. Let's see. I'll just give you my proficiencies involved. Folklore, history ancient, languages ancient, sage knowledge history, and archaeology. Basically, I just bought arcanology and just renamed it archaeology.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry, hold on one sec.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's fine. All right, sorry about that.
No.
So,
archaeology.
Archaeology, sage knowledge, history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Doggy.
Go down there. That's where you can live, Pupper. All right.
So give me sheet.
Give me a do you have stone? You don't have any stone work. Give me an archaeology.
No, I only got archaeology because
give me an archaeology check and an ancient history check.
Sure thing, dude. Okay, that's history. This is archaeology.
Ooh, those are fantastic. Okay.
Oh.
So the first thing you can tell is that the old stonework on the base of the church is very, very old, and it's stone, not brick. You can see that the techniques used to carve it are pretty solid. It's no amateur carver who made these, but they're also not like made by the greatest stone mason in the world. It's probably some decent level human crafter or a team of them if they were able to build the whole church. And let's see, with archaeology, history. So with your archaeology check, you can also, we'll have probably dug around the edges a little bit, see that the floor is maybe a good 3 inches of stone. Yeah.
And is that consistent with an era? The 3-inch stone floors?
Yes. The 3-inch stone comes from a time of great prosperity when people had the money and effort to put into making these really thick, solid stone slabs that you could put everywhere.
Yeah.
So this comes from some prosperous age, which certainly wasn't after the breaking. And so must predate it by some amount of time.
Yeah. Can I find... Okay. Because I have a shovel around, but I'm just wondering, like, was there a settlement near here? Because if there's this effort put into a church this far from Berkshire, it makes me think that the town used to be further south, away from the river, which was created later on. So if the river was created later on from that aquifer, then the town could have been further south back in the day, and then moved north when the river was found.
Yeah, that's a great idea. There's still this campfire blazing on the other side of the building that you've been sort of ignoring for a moment.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, I'm an archaeologist. I see a building, I go, ugh.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. I'll walk around to the other side of the building, have a looky-loo, see who's camping near the temple.
You find 2 goblins curled up in some like one person's what do you call it, bedroll, like a human's bedroll that they have found, stolen, something or other, but are otherwise curled up against the side of the building.
Well, one of my characters did drop a bedroll near here. You know, when they die. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't speak Goblin, though, so I don't want to bother them. So I'll quietly just try to look around the north side of the temple, see if I can find any signs of any other ruins in the area. Because, I mean, it's a long shot, because other than temples, other buildings do not survive the test of time, especially that old, if they're not stone.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking for other, like, slabs of floors.
Why don't you give me a perception check?
All right. 26.
Fantastic. You start looking around this area for clues to other things. When you find this, one of these beams or piles of lumber that had fallen over seems to have blocked a small ladder staircase area that heads deep into the earth.
Ooh. Is the ladder recent, or is it old design?
The ladder looks brand new.
Interesting. So someone's been down here recently. So, but the shaft itself, does that look like it's an old design shaft?
It does look old. It looks like it was probably square once upon a time, and that originally it had some sort of bracing mechanism at the top, maybe some sort of like square shaped boards kind of put around it to keep the top edge nice and firm, because you can see some of these like supporting boards that would hold up the frame on top. But all of that has since fallen away, and the top is sort of starting to crumble in, and the once square entrance is now sort of blob shaped. It goes down beyond what you can see. Yeah.
So, like, given other temples of this age, is this typical way accessing the catacombs? A deep shaft with a ladder?
Absolutely not. No, that would be very inconvenient to access catacombs.
I thought so. I just thought I'd check.
Yeah.
If this has been found elsewhere. All right. I get my torch out, and well, I have to kind of a torch out if I'm climbing down, but I climb down the ladder to investigate the ruins down there.
Okay. You make your way down the ladder. Sound of the campfire goes away, the sound of the wind goes away, and soon you find yourself just climbing down this really deep ladder to a pit in the ground. It is dark down here. There is my for a specific track here. There we go. Scroll. All right. You come on down until your feet find land. Find some sort of ground beneath you.
So it's dirt ground. This chamber is made of dirt?
Yes, there is warm air blowing out, or not, I shouldn't say blowing, but gently blowing up the shaft, and a bit of light present. Some ambient light.
So the ladder's just freestanding against the stone wall, like there's no signs of construction down here.
Correct. Yeah.
It's all natural, or assumably natural, dug out.
There's some dirt that's fallen down from up above, little tufts of grass, long dead since they haven't seen the sun. And you find yourself Well, I guess you don't have your torch lit yet, so you find
Yeah,
yourself in
okay.
some sort of underground dirt chamber.
All right, I'll get a torch and slowly light it.
All right. You find yourself in a 10-foot wide passageway that extends beyond the edge of your light radius. Forward, you will notice that there is maybe a turn to the right. Shortly after shortly down the hallway, there's a right-hand access.
All right. As an archaeologist, I am aware traps exist, so I start tapping the ground with my other hand. What weapon do I have? Oh, yeah, it's a mace, I think. No, it's a warhammer. I'm tapping up warhammer on the ground in front of me, making sure there's no traps on the dirt in front of me. Yeah. And I peer around the corner carefully.
You see, curled up on the ground, its long neck and head kind of nestled over its arms, a massive red dragon.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, am I aware of other red dragons being trapped underground in caverns?
No.
So I don't know about the one that was in the Spice Isles during Seaborn. Right.
Nope.
Fair enough. All right. Hello there, I say in Old Common.
You attempt to wake the dragon?
Well, I'm around the corner. I'm not...
Yeah. One big, scaly red eye slowly rolls open. Its nictating membrane rolls back, and you can see this one gleaming red eye staring at you. A little tendril of smoke begins to rise from one nostril.
I back up, but I'm around so that you can't see me, but I call out in Old Common, I'm a historian. Have you got time for an interview, Mr. Dragon or Madam Dragon?
Be a charisma check.
Oh dear, shouldn't have made that my dump stat.
Natural 1.
Oh, come on!
The dragon is, how do you say? Curious at this pitiful creature that wants to ask it a question. This sad little thing. And the dragon calls out to you, in a hushed tone, sort of, what sort of interview would you like?
Did the dragon play in Common or Old Common?
Old Common.
All right, I'll speak in Old Common. I am looking for historical information about this area and how you came to come down here, sir, ma'am.
There's a bit of a pause. And then comes the semi-confused tone. Historical information?
Yeah, I'm a sage of knowledge, and I've never seen a dragon trapped in a chamber like this before. I'm wondering how you came to be down here.
Are you not afraid of me?
Oh, I'm terrified, sir, but I'm keeping my distance, but in the course of seeking out knowledge, you must risk things.
Is knowing the truth worth your life?
It can be, sir, ma'am.
How interesting.
Well, how should I address you, Red Dragon?
Your Majesty.
Your Majesties.
All right, little human. Ask your questions.
How long have you been in this chamber, Your Majesty?
Many hundreds of years.
Are you aware where you are in the world geographically? Were you transported here, or?
It's a fantastic question. Dimly aware. Large continent. Large island. Southern side. Underground. Yeah. Woods above. River nearby. Plenty of kobolds in the woods. Occasional ogre. Some dumb orcs.
Okay. Do you know what event caused you to be trapped down here?
The dragon rumbles and a small bit of flame begins to lick out of its nostril. The light in the room begins to dance a little bit.
I'm sorry, Your Majesty, if I won't press you on issues you do not wish to answer.
I was foolish and greedy. I was brought down here when I was much, much smaller. Left in here with great amounts of food and treasure. Quickly outgrew the exit. I have tried to dig my way out, but I seem bound here.
Do you know what bound you here? Magic? Technology?
There's a low growl and no response.
Fair enough, Your Majesty. What were the... I know we're below you, Your Majesty, but I'm wondering about the kingdoms of the time, if you were aware of any of them.
Dragon seems to reach deep back into its memory and says humans were never much of my concern. Great, with a lot of sarcasm in his voice, elven nation of Sylvis was the one strong kingdom. Its boundaries crawled all the way to the edge of the Great Plains.
Yeah, so it was back when Sylvis extended so far before the Voden Plains rose up, I imagine. Or to the edge of the Voden Plains. Well, you won't call them Voden Plains, I'm sure.
And then sometime after I was trapped down here, there was a great earthquake.
Yes.
Somehow my chamber did not change. The magma splashed, and the walls stood, despite my carving into them, ripping into them.
1,500 years ago, Your Majesty, was the breaking where the gods got rather mad at the mortals, so they smashed the continent and reshaped it. Rose the Shadow Mountains, formed modern Cuba, sunk the Talon Islands to the southeast of here.
If you wish to know anything else about me, you will come back with a map and point out the details of which you speak.
Oh, of course. Now, I do have map making, I think. No, I've got cartography. So, and I've got an empty book.
Isn't cartography the same as map making?
Yes, it is, but not in my line of work, Neal.
Let's see.
Because map making don't worry. But yeah, I've got map making. So I open my journal because I've got an empty book with empty pages in my character sheet, and I do a sketch of Arcadia and the Talons to the southeast. And yeah, I don't know about Arcadia East, so I don't draw that. So I do a sketch of the map and enter the chamber. I can do a larger map on the ground, draw it in dirt in the ground, Your Majesty, if that so pleases. I understand my book's rather small.
The dragon uses its large hand to level an area of dirt, creating a nice smooth surface on which for you to map.
Yeah. Now, should I do a cartography check, or is this just a general outline of the continent?
I think this is good enough. If you've got a map-making proproficiency and you're a historian, you should be able to doodle it.
Yeah. So I draw modern Arcadia. So I have I draw like 4 circles for the Talons, and I've then got Gnome. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
The
So
dragon muses over the map for a little while, asks you a few pointed questions, mostly about the area of Sylvis. Asks what these large lines are that you draw, the canals.
The gods created deep canals, which actually split Sylvis from a lot of its previous territory, allowing the humans to expand over it. These canals are rather deep, hundreds of feet down canals, breaking the kingdoms apart. Human kingdom ends here. Mystria, which is controlled by the red dragon Scoria, controls this area.
The eyes light up and a deep growl and some gouts of flame emerge when you mention the name Scoria.
Yeah, Scoria came to power around 150 years ago, as humans reckon it, and has controlled that nation ever since. Although in recent years she has been assisting the armies, she has, although not as a subservient role, but as she sees fit.
The dragon goes quiet for a moment and then says, "Tell me more of Scoria." Desire.
Scoria, of recent year, has had the king of Mystria tax its population heavily to draw its wealth in. It has monstrous tax collectors which visit each village each month to collect wealth, and villages which do not pay up are destroyed by the dragon Scoria. She lives at Dragon Peak in this mountain range here, and she has. It's been said that she has a new clutch of eggs, and that she's gone to roost in Dragon Peak in the past few months. She had previous offspring in Gold Hill. I believe one died, but one still lives. I'm not aware of any other personal information about Scoria, other than she is a massive dragon of such size and such length. You know,
yes.
age class.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
And would you say she has been successful conquering the world?
She's making progress. Her armies are marching on the nation above us at the moment. But at the moment, she controls this kingdom.
How soon will they be here?
Well, depending on the war effort, because a rock was defeated in the world above, the war effort's now going more in favor of the people above. And because Scoria's busy with her eggs, she hasn't been able to counter it. But if she were to get back involved in the war, I'd say a few years she'd have control. But you never know with wars.
Right. Go ahead then, cleric. Ask your questions.
Yeah, right. These islands down here, were you aware of what the Talons were like back in the day before the breaking?
I roosted there many a time.
Could you tell me the shape of the land it were? Or was it one island, multiple islands?
One island with mountain range down the middle. She takes her smallest claw and reaches out with the pinky and draws you a
rough doodle. Yeah, I
shape
get this
sort of
isn't
like
canon, but
this.
Oh my goodness, that is big. Fascinating, Your Majesty. Yeah, because the Talon. All right, yeah. Now, Akuba, like back in the day, this area, in the records, did not look like it did. This peninsula, the Rohan Peninsula, didn't exist back then. Was this just ocean? Or
what do
was
you
it?
Mean?
Oh well, my history books have told me that the breaking of the world formed the peninsula of Rohana, and I indicate. And I was just wondering, was it an island or what was it back in the day?
the dragon?
Yeah. Well,
will
their Majesty.
Yeah. Will draw you a shape, which I will draw for you right now. Actually, here, let me do this, and I will just draw you. She will just draw you the outline, her rough outline of what it was like.
All right, fair enough.
So that is the rough outline of that. Then here's this island here. Gnome still existed as its own island, but had a different shape. Minataria was just a little boop, so probably somewhat still the same.
Yeah, about the same. Were there the Spice Isles?
No. This area here and here was all land. There was no inland sea.
Interesting. Was there a red desert here at the time?
Dragon seems to try and recall something from great memory and slowly shakes its head. No desert there. A great grassland.
Yeah.
The elves controlled an area.
I heard told the once upon a time the elves controlled the forests all the way down to here, but then they were cut apart by the plains. I guess that's even older than Your Majesty.
Perhaps. Was such a very long time. I have been here with so very little to do.
I'm sorry, Your Majesty. Yeah.
You could help me with that.
How, Your Majesty?
Come back tomorrow, and I will have something for you.
Of course. Thank you for your time. Is there anything you wish me to find out in the meanwhile for you?
No. Just don't go dying on me.
Well, I give my track record for the last 29 years. I'm good at that. See you tomorrow, Your Majesty.
Dragon gives you a low growl and lets you leave.
I give a big bow and depart the cave a-trembling.
Okay. You slowly make your way out of the cave and back in... excuse me. Back into the, lovely world above. The birds are there. There's that small campfire going. The goblin couple curled up in the middle of the day in the bag. Head kind of tucked into a darkened corner.
Okay, I think I'll just head back into town and collect my thoughts and write down what I've found out today.
Okay. You can do such a thing. You find the tavern is still pretty empty. Desmond, as you arrive back in the tavern, gives you a... How was it? What'd you find?
The temple did predate the breaking. It was built during an age of prosperity prior to the breaking of Arcadia. But there's been so much there's been a lot of reconstruction on it over the years. So it's hard to really gauge exactly when it was built. But the base level is definitely pre-breaking.
And tell me something. How do you turn this into gold?
The archaeology tends not to be a very profitable area unless you're a grave robber.
That is sorely disappointing.
I'm sorry, sir.
Are you going to be robbing any graves?
No, sir. I'm an archaeologist, not a tomb raider.
Aren't they the same thing?
Well, tomb raiders take things and say they belong in museums and not where they originally are found. They go, oh, this ancient civilization doesn't need it anymore. Let me take it for myself, because my civilization's got more value. I don't care if this person was buried here with these objects. I deserve it. And you see, that sort of thing makes it very hard to study history. You go into a place, I've been into a tomb, right? and it was cleared out. So how am I meant to learn about the ancient culture that way? It ends up in private collections, or they just get broken down for parts. Oh, this is a gold object. I'll just melt it for gold and mint some coins.
Well, I can see that being problematic, but also profitable.
Yes, that's the allure of tomb raiding.
Mm-hmm.
They go to places that are no longer guarded and seek wealth.
He shrugs and goes back to chatting with Lizzie.
Yeah. Now I make sure to draw the dragons. When I was back in the cave, I drew down the shape of the continent in my book. But now I'm writing down the things the dragon said about seemingly knowing Scoria or having some sort of affinity with her, like wanting to know how maybe Scoria's ancestor of sorts. Now, while Scoria only appeared 150 years ago, she is apparently much older than this. But the thing is, this dragon's been trapped here since a young age, which has got me very confused. How does this person know Scoria? Were they hatchlings together or such? And was she placed in a similar cave in the Dragon Mountain and she escaped 150 years ago? Yeah.
Great questions.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like there's probably a connection, like who put the dragons in these caves and why? Like
That's a great question.
It was a very different nation, land back in the day, old Arcadia. And I forgot to ask, was it humans that placed it here or elves? But it sounded more like humans, but I'll find out more details. So yeah. So I just write in my notebook details of such. Yeah.
You can jot down the details in peace. A few other people trickle into the tavern over the course of the day. There's a small group of humans that are gathered around a table playing cards. There's a half-elf, a halfling, and a gnome gathered around another table, talking in hushed whispers. Some of the whispers happen to rhyme. And then there's a pair of just regular old folks, a human and a dwarf sitting at a table, or at the bar, sharing a drink and chatting about life, that sort of thing. It's a fairly calm day here.
Well, I ask each person about like what they know of the history of the local area. I am looking for history of the area. Do you know? Hold on a moment. Let me just check. Do you know folklore of the area? Stories, old stories.
Who are you asking about this?
Okay. Let me walk to the table with two regular people. That's not the card
Yeah,
game,
you
so
find the dwarf and the human. They're sitting at the bar. They see you approach. They stop their conversation as you stand next to them.
Sorry to interrupt. I am a researcher looking for tales of folklore of the area. Do you have a time to talk with me?
They look at each other, and one of the dwarf says, "If you buy the next drink, I'll talk to you."
Of course. Yes, sir.
What do you need to know, lad?
Well, I'm collecting the folklore of the local area. Do you know any interesting stories from ancient times, not like modern history?
Ancient times. Well, you know how they got around to having gnomes, don't you?
No, sir.
You see, gnomes and halflings, those little critters are just offshoots of dwarves. You see, long ago, Seor the Great Smith was hammering away, and we dwarves were the helpers of Seor as he built the world, stroke after stroke, hammer blow after hammer blow. Yet, some of our comrades, some of our dwarven brethren, were a little too curious for their own good. Not simply content with bringing stones and jewels and minerals to forge the earth, they wanted to know why and how these impetuous dwarves were cast aside with a sweeping hand of Seor, knocking them to the side, bringing them down into the world, landing on top of it rather than inside of it, making them into gnomes. little curious bastards were cursed to always want to know more and just live out their lives, digging for answers that could never be found. Halflings, on the other hand, were the lazy dwarves, those that helped the others but wouldn't help say or build. They just wanted to dig in the earth, not actually make anything of value. These were cast aside with Sayor's other hand, knocking them to the surface, turning them into dirt peddlers, farmers, potato munchers. Yeah. We dwarves are the ones who remain true, helping Sayor build the whole world, and we were rewarded with great homes underground, an affinity for the darkness, and a fine love for the crafts.
So did Sayor create the hill dwarves and mountain dwarves, or was it just a cultural thing?
We dwarves are all pretty much the same. Some of us prefer to dwell in the great mountains, living deep underground the way that we were meant to. Others cast out for treason, traitors, being cowards, being poor craftsmen. They had to flee the mountains and settled in the hills, the lesser of the underground areas, the weaker of the dwarves, the, how do you say, gutter rats.
Well, the hill dwarves do have their own kingdom now, north of Veridon, but yeah.
A pair of skunks could have a kingdom too, wouldn't make it worth noting.
Fair enough, sir, fair enough. Thank you for your time. I write this down. I write all this down for dwarven folklore and about the creation of the gnomes and halflings.
My name is Tracy, by the way. If you're going to be writing these things down, you ought to write who the truth comes from. Yeah.
All right, I'll write the bibliography from Tracy.
Tracy Manhick.
Okay. All right, okay.
All right, your history has been gained.
I gained some history, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Do I have any? Because as a cleric, would I know that any mortals help the gods make the world at all, or did the gods just make it on their own?
You've never heard anything about mortals making the world, but at the same time, if the dwarves were helping them make the world, they probably wouldn't have been regular dwarves. They'd be some sort of like celestial proto-dwarves or something. I don't know. It all kind of reeks of...
Yeah. I'm classifying this as folklore, right? I mean, I'm not going to say it to the man's face. He's got opinions.
Yeah, he seems pretty set in his opinions, too.
Yeah. All
right. The human continues just to sip his drink and nod along to the story.
I'll leave them alone, and I'll try joining the card game and seeing. Hello, can I see it?
Of course. The half-elf motions for you to sit down next to him, the halfling, and the gnome.
Yeah, I am a historian. If you have any time, I'm collecting folklore, ancient folklore. If you have the time to share any with me.
They both look at you and kind of wait expectantly for you to kick it to dig in a little bit more.
I'm looking for stories of how things became the way they are now, because the world as it was is far different to how it is nowadays. And I was wondering if you have any folklore of ancient times or times of creation.
Ancient times or times of creation? The halfling doesn't seem all that interested. He just keeps playing the game. The half-elf looks at you with an uncertain gaze, like, is he really just a historian? This is Shenanigans. He could be a cutthroat murderer here to steal our purses under the guise of this thing. He's eyeing you up and down like he doesn't trust you. The gnome, however, is happy to prattle on about the history of his invention. You see, he's been building a water screw to help get boats, to help you, pump the water out of your boat. And it's really just, it's a screw that you tilt on your side, not like a vertical screw, but like a horizontal screw, and it goes through the hole, and then you spin it, and the water slowly rises up with the screw until you dump it outside. The current problem is that you gotta drill a hole in the side of the ship to put it in there, and then you've got a hole inside of the ship, and then if there's a big wave, it can sink the ship. So I've been thinking about doing a model where you could do, where it's self-sealing, so as you turn it, it lets the water out, but doesn't let water in. But then to do that, we sort of need to invert the screw, but we'd also need to invert gravity, and that doesn't really work that way. And he continues to prattle on about his water pumping screw.
Yeah. Is there any folklore about the creation of the nation of Nome?
Let me tell you about Nome. That place, what a home. You see, the Great Basalt Mountain dominates Nome.
Yeah.
Although that is a subject on which we tend to drone, the more important truth of this situation is the creation of the Dragonlands in the West.
I assume that happened when the dragon came.
Yes. The other histories can be found in the library with all the rest. But the Dragonland is where the interesting facts lie. Real question I haven't answered is for the dragon, and it's simply why? Why come to know? Why make this your home? We don't really know the answer of why the dragon is there.
How long ago did it appear?
Oh, many lifetimes ago.
Okay.
Yes. We tend to just, how do you say? Avoid it. Leave it alone. It leaves us alone. It won't come to our home if we won't go to its home. It's a big, green, nasty one with poison gas.
Do you know
That's
its
why
name?
we tend to build our houses under the ground where the gas won't pass. The name? The name of the great and evil beast? Are you sure you want to know it?
Well, I think we're far enough away. It's safe to know.
The gnome begins to whisper to you. Are you really sure?
Yes. I'm really sure.
Abraxia.
Abraxia.
The great green dragon.
Yeah. I don't know if you know. Is it related to the green dragon in Matava? Do you know?
I mean, I suppose all green dragons are related at some level.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Right? Was there one green dragon that all green dragons come from? Or did it start off with 2 green dragons? Or was it just a cluster of eggs?
Yeah.
How did dragons get their start?
Well, the gods, but yeah.
Well, beyond the gods, how do they get their start?
Yeah. Did
what-
the gods create eggs first, or did they create dragons first?
Which came first, the dragon or the egg? I'll never know. Will you?
I'll never. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just augury that. Did eggs come first or dragons come first? Oh, God.
Augury takes 2 rounds of casting. Oh, you could totally do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And the base chance is 70% plus 1% per each level of the priest.
Level 1.
You are level 1, so 71% chance. Which came first, the dragon or the egg? Great question. You roll a 43, so your god will give you a meaningful reply. Which came first, the dragon or the egg? The answer is short, concise, direct, and to the point. The egg came first.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yes, the egg came before the dragon.
Egg. I'm writing this down. My god claims the egg came first, sir. And my god is the god of knowledge and wisdom, so they would know.
Or that's what they want you to know.
Well, yes, that is what they want me to know.
Could be a lie. I don't know why. Could be a
My
lie.
God would not lie to me, sir.
Really? Don't you think it would be wise to sometimes mislead mortals?
Yeah, but he's also knowledge.
Especially-
He's not of deception. He's not the God of deception. There's no God of deception.
Wasn't the god of knowledge judicious in who they give answers to and which answers they give?
Maybe. But I mean...
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, I'll just accept information at face value because it's from a god.
The gnome tilts his head back and forth, sort of agreeing with you.
It's a primary source.
I
it
suppose
was
it
there.
is. I suppose the lie of a god is better than the truth of a man.
Yeah. You say that, but it's true. Well, I mean, why would they lie about it? I mean, unless it's a third state that we don't know about.
I don't know.
What could be a third state? Yeah.
Third state?
Yeah.
State?
Like egg state, a outside state. So there's no, it's a binary choice, unless it's something, a third option we haven't even considered. Like the design of the dragon, then they reverted it to an egg form when they created it.
Maybe they just created eggs and let them hatch.
But you have to keep them warm.
Do dragons have to have warm eggs?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not a dragonologist.
If you can get me a dragon egg, I can build a dragon egg incubator. And we can test it. We can incubate one egg and not the other. Get me 2 dragon eggs and we'll find the truth.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, and you know that.
The gnome looks dejected. The halfling kicks him under the table and motions back to the card game, and the gnome quickly plays some cards and puts some cash on the table.
I'll leave him be now.
Okay.
I'll while away the rest of the time at the tavern. Actually, you know what? I'll go to the local library and see if there's any record of a dragon in the area, a red dragon in this area of Drakus in the history books. There's 2 libraries.
There's a library and there's a whole section on dragons, and the first thing that you learn very quickly is that Berkshire happens to be a occasional on and again, off again dragon mating ground, and a lot of dragons have come through this area of all shapes, sizes, and colors.
So
usually,
old records of the dragons, though.
Well,
Historical.
you know, when the dragons visit the town over and over again, there happen to be some mistakes, some buildings get crushed, some history books just don't survive. The oldest record is... need to do some math on that one.
All right.
Is... That can't be right.
Because I'm not sure how long ago the War of the Dragons and Elves was, because that was over in Solemn, so I don't know if that even happened here.
The oldest record is about 1,000 years old, maybe a little bit over. And it will mention predominantly bronze, brass, and copper dragons come here. But other colors have been seen. One year, a whole flock of golds arrived. There have been silvers seen. There have been blues and blacks and reds. No whites have ever come through here. And sort of like an off-colored green dragon. It looks like maybe... What is... A lime dragon?
Well, no, lime-colored, not lime dragon.
Not... What's the color of like a tarnished copper? You know, that sort of like mossy greenish.
I know what you mean.
There's a term for that.
The color of Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
I don't know the name.
It is called... I guess it's just called tarnished copper. What is the color of oxidized copper? This layer is known as patina, but it's not the color of it. I guess there's not a specific color for tarnished copper, although it's a distinctive color, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Ooh, is it Verdigis? name for green pigment obtained through acidic acid to copper plate. Oh yeah. Verdigris. I'm gonna put it in Twitch chat just because that's the only place I can find it.
Digris. I'll write that down for the recap.
Yes, a dragon that color.
That's interesting. So, its scales must have been degraded by something, or it's a type of dragon we don't know about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could be anything.
No.
Is it
Okay,
an unhealthy blue dragon, an unhealthy green dragon, an unhealthy copper dragon, a mixed dragon? It could be any number of things. It could be, what if it's a green-blue dragon hybrid? Or a green-copper dragon hybrid? My god.
Alright, well, okay. Was Berkshire in this spot 1,000 years ago?
Who is this question addressed to?
No, I'm to the books.
Yes. Berkshire has been here.
Well, it's on out of character, I know it's on the year 69 map in the exact same spot, but.
Right.
Yeah.
So they will say that it was here 1,000 years ago, yes.
Right.
This library has been here for 1,000 years, so Berkshire's been here for 1,000 years. Or the oldest book references a book that was written 1,000 years ago from this location.
I get that. Yeah, so there's no records of the founding of Berkshire in here? Because I'm trying to find that out.
Well, do you have some sort of library check that you could make?
Well, I've got Sage Knowledge History, so that means I can use libraries very well.
Perfect. Give me a Sage Knowledge History check.
Yeah.
26. And are there any modifiers for Sage Knowledge?
Yeah. Well, actually, I thought it was... Oh, no, I've messed it up. That was a strength check. I haven't put in Sage Knowledge properly. Sage Knowledge should be... I think it was -3. Let me check the... what modifier should I have for it? Yeah. I'll keep the roll, but I'll just change my modifier. Whatever. Or if you want to re-roll. Either way.
Sage with the skill has an excellent grasp of history and the historical methods. Unlike a character with ancient or local history proficiencies, the sage is with this skill is a generalist, but he can be considered an expert on a particular era or culture by spending additional slot to specialize. Whether or not the historian knows something off his head doesn't matter. He knows exactly where to look when he needs to find out the details of a person's life or important event. Skill in this field of knowledge provides a +2 bonus to the character's proficiency score in ancient history or local knowledge. Okay.
Oh, I didn't apply that. I should have. Okay. Well, I should have +2 on the other two then.
Yeah.
But let's see. Sage Knowledge is -2 to intelligence.
Okay.
So I'll put that in. Sorry about that.
No worries. So using the same die roll, what is your modified roll?
Okay, so my knowledge is 16, so it's strong. It's wait. Yeah, okay. Not intelligence is 18, so it would have been 2 higher. Then we -2, so it's 2 down. So it'd be 26.
26 still? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, you can dig about and discover that Berkshire predates the breaking of the world. But back then, it was a small little town of little to no note.
So was my suspicion right? Was further south, or is it still around here?
Those specifics are lost to time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is the temple mentioned in any of these books? The old temple to
they
south.
They mention temples, but it's hard to match a temple to a list in a book, right?
Yeah, because I mean, the temple in town's on the north side of town near the river, but the temple here is in the middle of the woods on its own. So, I mean, other than that, there's no distinction figures. Like, one is pre-breaking temples are very different to modern temples, but a temple's a temple if you don't know where it is. The pre-breaking temples were a lot opulent and all that such.
Battle called the Battle of Elysia. Yeah, so it's very similar to ancient, maybe not that ancient battles. Like, we might not be able to find the exact place, even if we've got excellent documentation on the battle.
Yeah.
We still look at the Battle of Elysia and be like, well, it could be here, or it could be there.
It's there. No, it's there.
It's somewhere in Gaul, right? It's maybe near this thing or that thing. It's kind of hard. In the last, 2,000 years, the topography has changed, and we've lost X, Y, and Z, and rivers have changed directions, and You know, so your Berkshire's in roughly the same spot that it was, but it could easily be, 50 miles in any direction.
Yeah. I didn't have much hope for that, but because there's no big landmarks here. I mean, there's no like obelisk that's been here for eternity or something.
Right. Right. Unfortunately, this town has been leveled by dragons over and over again, and it's difficult to get any long-lasting historical things, except for that one temple south of town, which looks to be still intact. Yeah.
So I'll write down the information about the dragon breeding stuff, because maybe the other dragon will have more information on why this area has been chosen for such. Well, then again, they've been out of the loop for a bit, so...
Well, why don't we take our first break here, and when we come back from break, we will learn more histories of the world. So we'll see you guys on the other side of a break. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.